Now let's dive into our featured story of the day. Bitcoin already tapped price discovery again, surpassing $70,000 per coin live during the stream. Now let's discuss a $300,000 Bitcoin price action on the table, according to the Tether co-founder, who says this bull run may be the biggest one we have seen yet. Send it, family. Exciting times. And as I mentioned earlier, this is the first time in Bitcoin history we hit a new all-time high pre-halving during the cycle. It's never happened before. Historical patterns surrounding the past Bitcoin halving suggest Bitcoin can surge to 300,000 per coin by the peak of this ongoing bull market, according to Tether co-founder William Quigley. Shout out to Tether, by the way. They just surpassed a $100 billion market cap earlier in the week, which is insane. In a new interview with CNBC, Quigley clarifies he is not making a 300,000 Bitcoin price prediction, just pointing out that such a target is possible based on historical patterns. Great disclaimer, by the way. Bitcoin's upcoming halving is currently slated for roughly April 18th. The Tether co-founder says the Bitcoin is currently in a stronger fundamental position than it was before in the last halving in May of 2020, citing Bitcoin's balloon derivative volume and the newly approved spot Bitcoin ETFs. Quigley also notes the Bitcoin usually skyrockets after its halving. This is fact. Do the math. We've had 3 halvings prior, 2012, and in 2013, all-time high. Then we had the 2016 halving, 2017, all-time high. 2020 halving, and in 2021, all-time high. And Bitcoin, quoting him here, Bitcoin is maybe the only globally traded asset that I know of whose demand is purely based on sentiment. There is not a Bitcoin company. There aren't Bitcoin price earning ratios. It is just a sentiment-driven token. And what you can say about that, of course, is that the sentiment has no limits. You can always be more optimistic. And so this rally may be the biggest we have ever seen. What are your thoughts on that sentiment regarding 300,000 price action for this cycle peak, and as well as this being the biggest, baddest rally of all time? And to watch this interview he did, Tether co-founder, on why Bitcoin will reach $300,000 at the peak, check the show notes below the video in the description. Here's why I feel Bitcoin will continue to do its thing. Number one, it's on its own vector. Number two, it is perfect money with a finite limited supply. There is no other ETF in existence or form of money that has a finite limited amount. As Jack Mallers pointed out, gold, they can just dig more from the ground if they want to introduce more gold onto the market. And that's precisely what they do each and every year. And that's not good, because it doesn't have true scarcity. It has relative scarcity. Bitcoin is the only commodity, asset / everything, you know what I mean, form of money to ever have a finite limited supply, meaning there can only ever be 21 million in existence. Some would speculate 4 to 5 million are lost and gone forever, making it that much more scarce. Then you look at the top holders of Bitcoin and you really start to understand how scarce this asset truly is. Coinbase, the largest exchange in the United States, currently custodies over 1 million Bitcoin for the likes of the people like BlackRock, the largest asset manager of the world, for the likes of GBTC, the Grayscale Bitcoin Trust, which literally just more recently converted their trust into an ETF. So they're a major custodian, and they're not going to slow down. They're going to continue being a custodian, hodling vast amounts of Bitcoin. Then you have Satoshi's estimated to have roughly 1.1 million Bitcoin. Then you have the high priest of Bitcoin, Max Keiser, who in my opinion probably has as much Bitcoin as Satoshi, another 1 million Bitcoin. Then you got Michael Saylor, who has over 30,000 Bitcoin personally, potentially a lot more. His company has roughly 200,000 Bitcoin. Shout out to Hypersonic Crypto for the super. The chat asked the other day if anyone specializes in non-KYC DEX exchanges and how to use them. My business educates people, or you can trade with us. Trading person to person is legal. Feel free to reach out, says Hypersonic Crypto. Appreciate the orange Bitcoin super, and thanks for supporting the channel. So yeah, back to where I left off. Bitcoin, very scarce, the most scarce asset in the world due to the finite limited supply. And then you start to calculate again, MicroStrategy already holds roughly now 200,000 Bitcoin. They're looking to control 5% of the circulating supply. They already control 1%. So they're 200,000. They're looking to accumulate into 1 million Bitcoin. Then you have countries, nation state adoption, such as Bukele over in El Salvador. They've been buying tremendous amount of Bitcoin as well because they have it on their balance sheet. They're most likely going to continue to accumulate. Now you have potentially a big Arab country such as the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, who just got congratulated in the flesh by Bukele, and the speculation is they're going to be making an announcement on strategically utilizing Bitcoin for their country some way, somehow. Also, Ed Snowden recently came out about a week ago, we covered it on the pod, said a country has been secretly buying Bitcoin and is going to make the announcement. Could it be this oil money all flowing into Bitcoin? Shout out Joshua. I greatly appreciate the support. Thanks for the sub. Also, the speculation of not the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, we just discussed that, but also Qatar, another wealthy nation who has roughly $500 billion in a sovereign wealth fund, looking to convert that into Bitcoin. Do you understand, family? Do you understand there's only 900 Bitcoin being mined daily right now? That's about to get cut in half in roughly a month after the halving, which means there's only going to be 450 new Bitcoin issued each day. And when you start to think, well, BlackRock's buying 13,000 a day, and that's just one asset manager. What about the other 10 asset managers? What about the ETFs that haven't launched yet coming out of Hong Kong? What about the ETFs that haven't launched yet coming out of El Salvador? What about the ETFs that haven't launched yet coming from all other parts of the world? What about other nation states adopting Bitcoin and putting it on their balance sheet, you know what I mean, as a form of legal tender? What about the country of Suriname in South of America taking 1% of their central bank reserves and putting it into Bitcoin? What about Mexico adopting Bitcoin as a legal tender? What about Colombia? What about Brazil? What about Canada? What about Iran? What about BRICS? BRICS continues doubling as more nations move towards the de-dollarization. What does this all mean? Can you read between the lines? What's happening right now? You're going to see a massive supply shock this year leading into the halving. Mark my words. You're going to see a massive demand shock. Bitcoin is going to go up because it has to. 80% of the Bitcoin supply is currently in the hands of the long-term hodlers, people like you on here right now. And no matter what the fiat equivalent, monopoly, tulip bulb, fiat currency price is, you're not going to sell. And if you're unwilling to sell, well, they got to bribe you by raising the price in order to get that Bitcoin to fulfill their client demand. So unprecedented time. Previous cycle peak, zero institutional FOMO. Zero institutions whatsoever. You got to remember, Larry Fink used to be an enemy of Bitcoin, spreading the ESG FUD with the rest of them, right? However, he went from calling Bitcoin an index of money laundering to now embracing it full force. And now he's looking to accumulate as much Bitcoin as humanly possible. Why is that? It's the most appreciating asset in human history. It went from virtually zero 15 years ago. Nobody believed in it. Today, $70,000 per Bitcoin, and we're only 15 years old, meaning Bitcoin is still an adolescent. It's just hitting puberty, family. Bitcoin is just hitting puberty. It has the potential to do another 100x from here for the long haul. I recommend treating Bitcoin as a savings. It's the ultimate savings account, right? Your purchasing power in Bitcoin is mathematically guaranteed to go up against the dollar, and your purchasing power of the dollar is mathematically guaranteed to go down because they're going to continue to print more money. Hence, we call it fiat monopoly tulip bulb money. Just saying. So what are your thoughts, family? When are we hitting 74,000, which is our next target? Let me know in the live poll. We're going to hit it by this weekend, next week, sometime here in March or April. Holla at your boy.